שלום לכולם, אני גוני אלמגור מהסוויץ' פשוט להגיע לתוצאות, המפיקה והמארחת של הכנס האינטרנטי הישראלי השנתי ל-Eft טאפינג, והיום אני גאה ושמחה לארח לשיחה את אחד האנשים המובילים בעולם בכל הקשור לטאפינג, ואני מתכוונת לניק אורטנר, וכדי לכבד את האורח שלנו, תרשו לי לעבור לאנגלית. So here I am switching to English. And I want to welcome my very special guest, Nik Ortner. Nik is New York Times best-selling author of The Tapping Solution, The Tapping Solution for Pain Relief, and The Tapping Solution for Manifesting Your Greatest Self. He is the executive producer of the documentary film, The Tapping Solution, and the annual Tapping World Summit attended by over 2 million people around the world. These are a groundbreaking books and film exploring tapping, which is a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology that provides startling results. So, welcome, Nik.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about tapping, tapping is becoming more and more popular around the world, but here in Israel, it is relatively new and not so familiar. And knowing its benefits, I made it my mission to spread it around. And inspired by your Tapping World Summit, I produced last year the first Israeli Tapping Summit. This is our second year. While you have celebrated your 10th Tapping World Summit.
That's right. We just wrapped up number 10. So I see many more in front of you. You'll get to 10 soon.
We hope so. From your experience, what words of advice or blessings do you have for us?
Yeah, wonderful. So, I love this summit format. It's when we started in 2009, the first Tapping World Summit, because it's a way to spread this information around the world, right? And what an amazing gift that we can dial in, turn on our computer or our phones and get this information that was previously unavailable to many corners of the world. My advice for people watching the summit and joining in is to do as many of the presentations as possible, even if you don't think it applies to you, even if it's a topic that you're not instinctively drawn to, because I've found time and again, the people that really commit and invest their energy into consuming as much of the content as possible, their lives transform. And, that applies going forward. Listen to the summit live and then listen to it afterwards. Pick up a copy, because if there's one thing that I've seen besides tapping that helps people change their lives, it's putting good information in their ear. I've got my little earbuds here, right? This is the iPhone. So what comes out of this, what comes out of our computer speakers, what comes out of our phone, when we make that inspiring information that can transform our lives transform directly. It's just input in the ear and out into your life. And I've seen it time and again. So, it's very easy in this day and age to get caught up with the news and to get up with the political stuff and the latest drama and trauma. And you can change, even just subtly, what you put into your ears. Your life will transform. And then you can be in control of your life, be in control of your destiny. It's one of the things that I love about tapping. Many people out there feel powerless. They feel that the world happens to them. They feel that the emotions that come out of their body are just what it is, right? So if I'm angry or I'm scared or I'm anxious, it's just what is happening in the world. And what tapping allows us to do is say, okay, I can let this go. I'm in control of how I feel. And when I start controlling how I feel, I can release old traumas and memories and things that are keeping me stuck. And from that place, create the life that I want. From that place, go in a different direction that the rest of the world isn't going in. And I think that's especially applicable to Israel and the Middle East. And, firsthand that part of the challenge with the Middle East conflict and everything that's happening there, and I'm not an expert in it at all, but I know that it's intergenerational conflicts, right? That fawning back decades and sometimes hundreds or thousands of years, where we're perpetuating that same drama and trauma, right? Where one person was wronged So then they fought back, and then the other person was wronged, and it's been a ping pong match back and forth, holding on to that trauma.
Right.
When we start releasing that trauma, when we start opening up our brain, the latest science and research shows that when we're angry, when we're scared, when we're frightened, the blood flows away from our brain, so we don't think clearly, which is why you probably look around and you look at your politicians or your leaders and you say, well, why aren't they thinking clearly? Why can't they come up with a heart-centered solution? And I'm not saying that it's an easy solution, but why can't we move in that direction? And it's often because they're in fight or flight. They're in anger. They're in, we have to win, and there's retribution. And I think tapping, I'm not saying it's the answer to everything, but it could open the door to letting go of some of that stuck energy.
Right, great. Yes, that was my second question, and you've already answered it, especially here in Israel, because we are one of the most stressful areas on the planet. And we are living in very stressful and life-threatening situations on a daily basis. So thank you for that, of course. And
yeah, and again, just to reiterate, there's two kinds of stress that can happen. There's the external, and there's the actual life-threatening. And you are actually in life-threatening situations. So that means that your amygdala is firing all too often. That fight or flight response is going off. That's not good for your health. That's not good for your thinking. That's not good for your life. But that's a real thing. So the question is, how do you begin to turn that off to at least feel as safe as is possible in that situation? And then there's the emotional component of it, where that amygdala also fires because there's that anger and hate and stress and frustration. So the more we calm that down, the more we can think clearly, and from that place come up with real solutions.
Right. Many times people ask me, how is it possible that one technique can help so many different things, from emotional anxiety to physical pain to weight loss, abundance issues, and so on? I'd really love to hear your explanation.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I get it too. It's like, what do you mean weight loss? Like, I joke that, well, you're tapping, you're moving your arm, but that's not what the weight loss comes from. I think that the root of just about every problem, so what you listed, and there are certainly, of course, there are physical factors in weight loss. Of course, there are physical factors in pain relief, but we often just ignore the emotional factor, and the fact that that stress response, that fight or flight response dominates so many aspects of our lives. Weight loss. People tend to think that it's all about willpower. Okay, I have to will myself to not eat that cookie. Yeah. Here's the problem. When you're stressed out from a long day of work, when you've been making decisions all day, when you have all this stuff coming at you, when you're depleted, you physically and mentally don't have the resources to say no, to say, I'm going to make a better choice here. You're just exhausted. It's like you're hungry and tired and worn out, and you say, just give me that cookie. Give me something that's going to give me a sugar rush and that hit in my brain. When we can turn off that stress response, we have that willpower to say no. The other thing that starts happening on things like weight loss is people will say things like, last time that I lost weight, I got a lot of, especially women, I got a lot of attention from men, and that was uncomfortable. I didn't like it. So as a protective defensive mechanism, subconsciously, I'm going to put on weight because then I'm left alone. So when we tie it all back, everything that we do with tapping, every little tap on whatever issue is on calming that amygdala, on calming the body, releasing that stress response. And when we do so, our lives change and our bodies heal.
Right. The same with all the other issues, like abundance issues and...
Absolutely. All related to, when we're stressed, we don't think clearly, we don't make good decisions, we don't see what's right in front of us. With abundance and money, I've seen time and again, people do the tapping and they go, oh, I actually had an idea to do X 5 years ago and I just dropped it. But now they're calm and they're clear, and then they go do that idea and make a lot of money, and or have some clarity about their job. Some people won't have the confidence to quit their job. but when they do, it opens up a new path.
Right. And this is why I think it is so important to make it available for everyone. And I think all good changes begin with the right education. And I know that in the US and other countries, tapping is integrated into the educational system, right? It's
beginning to be. I mean, we're definitely making inroads. We put out a video a couple months ago about tapping in schools, some tapping we've done at various schools, and that's gotten 45 million views from around the world.
It was viral here in Israel too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just taken off. So, whenever there's institutions, whenever there's bureaucracy, right? A school is a bureaucracy, and it's slow, but we're getting there. The results speak for themselves, and I think what we're going to see in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of more research done on tapping, and that's come in. People like you and I, we do the tapping, and we get results, and we're excited because the results are there. What I've learned over the last decade is to infiltrate the bureaucracy, right? To get into those other institutions, you need the research and you need the science. And it makes sense. That way we don't have crazy things that are being used in different places. So we're getting there. And I think as that builds up and we have both more people getting results and the science and research, then we'll get into the institutions like schools more.
Yeah, I know that here in Israel, there are private initiatives by teachers here and there, and yes, the results are wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, Nick, thank you so much. We've covered a lot in a very short time. And before we end it up, do you have any last tip or advice to our Israeli audience?
No, just hello and welcome. If you're new to tapping, welcome to this wonderful worldwide community. Thank you for putting this event together. It's so needed, and I've never been to Israel, but I will put it on my bucket list, so it's already there to visit sometime and hopefully see people tapping everywhere. It would be exciting, and who knows, let's start dreaming that the tapping and other modalities like this help unlock some of the conflict that's been going on for so long. Opens a door that many of us think is closed, that there feels like that there will be no solution. Let's release some of that fear and anxiety and anger from our hearts and create a world where we can all feel at peace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. From here, I send you a big hug.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.